Sharps? What the fuck you doing in here, Sharps? Let me cover you in this drill. No problem, brother. Well, you watch my last two videos and you realize, I mean, I could get in there and said about a thing, hoping to catch a two-phase. I mean, I can't go a lot off of this because I hadn't seen his
section of going over some mock board questions. Today we're going to be looking at AR600-20, specifically in Sharp, and I want to talk to you about this. And of course, on MOI, this may come up in different ways. It could be Army programs. It could have its own outline in there as just the Sharp program. But you know, I think this is a topic.
Energy.
That
Energy
a lot of
is
times,
harassment,
when
friction,
we're given Sharp
dragging.
classes, you know, we talk a lot about doctrine, but we don't always think about what the questions might be. Right, so as we get going, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'll pause for a second.
I'd set it up
You can
interesting.
pause the video if you want to.
So, you, a black guy and the Ku
then
Klux
you can
Klan
say your
leader
answer.
walk into a bar.
And then you
Just
can
being
unpause
done.
it, and I'll tell you what the answer is from Army doctrine. And then we'll keep it rolling. So question number one is, what are the goals of the Sharp program? So this is one of the ones that has a really
The
long
temperature of that
answer.
bar
I mean,
went from
look at that.
room
right? That
temperature.
is the answer right there. By the way, this is what I take to a promotion or
Oh, that's where it gets fun on the
This is part
anti-up of
part of
that.
my
It's
package
like,
is the
why
first
did the
one,
gunnery
and
sergeant get so damn hot?
so, you know, when it comes to the goals
Well,
of
it's
the Sharp
sexist,
program,
it's
when
racist,
you're
it's
studying and you
just
find
bad
maybe
energy
you're
on
reading
physics
in
and training.
600-20, whatever
And that's
regulation
usually
is, you have a
where
really long type
some
answer.
of those things
Do you need to
adjust
know every
into the
word
system.
verbatim? No. But you need to be able
Yes,
to summarize
there's
it
a reason to call
within,
somebody a
maybe
snowflake.
2 or 3
Because
sentences.
snowflake is a
So the whole answer
big-time
is,
math equation.
right,
Look
to
like
create
the
a
devil
climate that
most of the days.
minimizes
And what are you
sexual
calling that
assault
thing today?
incidents,
Energy
which
by
impact
that
Army
system is a
personnel,
way for me to
civilians, and family
train you to do
members.
that if I was a Sharps
Should an
officer.
incident occur,
I just do the
ensure that
Bluestone
victim and
militia
subject
version
is
of it.
treated,
That's my patch,
according
right?
to
You know, I
Army
did in the
policy.
stone mill. I had to have meth
Create a climate
addicts,
that
heroin
encourages
addicts,
victims
old
to
school
report
drinkers,
incidents,
old school bosses on
establish
top of the
sexual assault
mountain
prevention
playing
training,
Zeus,
ensure,
Doomslayer,
sensitive and
Prometheus
comprehensive
walking through the
treatment to
pipes,
restore victims
and in
health
the end of
and
that,
well-being,
you have to be able to
as
say
well
to
as
this,
ensuring that
well,
leaders
Sharps guy
understand their
over here, the
roles
constant
and
teachings of the
responsibilities
redundant
regarding
preachings of me
response
being
to
a
sexual
combat
assault victims,
minimizer.
to thoroughly
The job is
investigate
to stop a
allegations of
war
sexual
before
assault
it gets started,
and
and
to take
if you
appropriate
can't,
admin
end
and
it.
disciplinary action.
Okay?
So what you want to do is you want to take those 5 areas.
I know it
And you
seems
just
like
sum them
those
up
two
into
things
a
aren't
couple
relative, but it's
sentences.
more about, well,
You
there's
need to
one
know
officer
what
to
this
us to
says.
stop
You
a
need to
war.
put this into your own words,
And you know,
right?
it takes
But
training
we
and
create a
energy
climate
that wouldn't,
treats
that
everybody
just the
with dignity
energy
and
would be a,
respect. We create a
crosshairs.
workplace environment where we
And now, it's not him
constantly
personally.
train our personnel on
the
impacts
wave
of sexual
function
harassment and
frequency,
assault. We treat people
we run with
with
different
dignity and
wavelengths,
respect, you know,
just
when they come
arbitrary.
forward
That's
to
off the
bring
hop. This is
an
quantum time,
allegation to
and
the
something
chain
I
of
take
command.
in very strong consideration when
that
training
the
this.
chain
I
of
like to
command
bring it up to the
is
aid as a
thorough in
psychologist.
investigating
Because I'll
not
put
only,
anything out here. I'll put something from Fox
perpetrators
News
out there,
Today
we
and
wanna
critical
find the
theory out there, and I'll just sit
perpetrator
back
and
and
discipline
review
accordingly, but we
you
also
doing
wanna
this
make sure
video
we
inside
treat
here
and take
to
care
kind of tell
of
you, hey, that is got some
holistically
spin
our victims.
moving in this direction. You
And put all
gotta.
that
I
in a
can't
sentence
charge
and
you
you're
with
good to
that
go.
yet because I can't prove that that's what you did, and this is your
Next
freedom
question
on
is,
that time
what
to do
is
so.
the Army's
But
slogan
okay, if
for
I
the
could, at
Sharp
least allow me to
program?
advise you. I could
I
put
am
words in
strong,
there.
of
I
course,
can't
it
prove
stands
that
for
they're going to change your
intervene,
trajectory
act,
on
and
energy, harassment,
as you're
friction,
answering
and
a
I can't
question,
guarantee it wouldn't
wanna
set
make
you
sure
off.
that you can
But as my
rephrase a
job,
question in your answer.
I would tell you, take these things into consideration and see if I didn't do this again in another experiment, that would be outside vibe. Well, you know what, let's run the same experiment twice. With those words that's turned back over inside of there, would it change? Or do you still have the same opinions?
What are the different categories?
The difference
of
is a
sexual
trajectory.
harassment?
On
The
board,
categories of sexual harassment,
I wouldn't be able to
verbal,
get you through
nonverbal,
certain
and
walls or
physical
through certain
contact.
keyholes with the trebuchet.
Right.
And our trebuchet is the Army.
Next
Would
up,
be the Navy, would be the Marines.
what are examples
And
of
so
sexual
when it
harassment?
really gets into housing,
Okay, so this is another one that
dependence,
has a long
it gets into
list, right?
kids,
There's,
it gets into
7, 8, 8
well,
categories in
depression,
sexual
anxiety.
harassment.
Well, you get into
You
some
need to be able to
sharp
explain most of
chaplain
these,
stuff too, a little bit in
in a
there
sentence
about
format, and
burying
would
it
be my
and,
recommendation.
well, headstones are headstones.
Telling sexual jokes, using
You go out there with the
sexually explicit
multimeter
profanity,
and you ask
threats,
Crete, what he thinks about Alexander's position at all, and he'll tell you, between the king and me, you're never going to be able to tell our bones out in the trash. It's just going to be bones out in the
trash. You could list
trash.
those off, kind of verbatim, or you could throw them into a sentence. Either way would be appropriate.
So AR600-20.
Next
here,
question is, what are some examples of non-verbal sexual harassment? So non-verbal sexual harassment, again, this is another one that has a list. It has 6.
I need a physics.
Is staring at someone, blowing kisses, winking, licking one's lips in a suggestive manner, displaying sexually
and I
oriented
hate to admit this, but even to a
cartoons,
brother. It's like, I give you that.
Sexually oriented screensavers.
What did I just do?
Sexually oriented notes, letters,
It's more about a
faxes,
Carl
or emails.
Sagan
So as we're thinking about
universe
this, again,
loaf.
it's just
It's like
nonverbal.
between
Just think about
and me
nonverbal ways
and the
that somebody
axes
can be
of the
sexually
Feynman diagrams
harassed.
here,
So we're talking about sex,
the reactions aren't correct. They're
blowing kisses and winking. It's nonverbal. It's things that we're
the
doing.
problem with this conversation is it's devil's advocate, because the government doesn't issue this. But I could tell you based on some things, if you had it squared away, and that's why I say bar at the bar.
What happens
Bar
when a
handling his
sexual
PFCs to square it away, because then they would be
happens
squared
when a
away.
hostile
Why you
environment
hitting on somebody that makes a regiment of
So a
your
hostile
sergeant,
environment
your
is somebody
lieutenant,
that's
your
subjected
gunnery,
to unwanted,
having to chase you
unsolicited
down things, and
behaviors or
bad
comments.
energy, just bad energy. You can't work with a set of group of people because you're giving off
What
all
are the
kind of
5
prime signals to
techniques
everybody
of dealing
around you.
with sexual
You'll say
harassment?
things like that person or that
Such as
concept
direct,
without doing a
indirect,
review on them
third-party
is
chain of command,
retarded.
Filing a
And
formal complaint.
you gotta file that whole thing.
Right, so
What
now
winds
we'll
up
move on
happening with
into
that is you will have a
situational
PhD in hand to hand me
So
as a
you're
sharps
preparing to go to the
officer
field,
and
right?
clinically
And
determine
with
that to be
this may apply to
unfit for
some
the
units, may not apply to
military.
others.
That
And
is
you have
not your
1
decision to
tent
make
for
it
your
if you
team.
made that decision.
Your team is composed of 4
And what's that
female,
make you?
or 4
An
males
incident
and 2
report. And I want you to
females. It
try to
doesn't
guess
matter
which
what
one
it
that
is.
was.
So you get 6 soldiers on the team, 4 males, 2 females.
Now, how did you know that answer
What is your response?
without me
How
telling
you
you?
go to the field?
It's harassment. That shit's speculative.
You see, I think
Harassment.
some of us are approaches are very.
I'll teach you some of those skills, but like I said, you're going to have to listen to my lead when I tell you you're going to have to fix that right now. That knife in hand, you go flaming sword in a hurry.
It's no big deal.
Just because it's a sharps guy don't mean it's not a general over there, and the general's not going to back that up.
However
later
you
on.
choose to respond.
To E1 to E0 to E1.
Just know it needs to be
E1 to
consistent.
E4. E4 to gunning.
It
E8.
needs to
That'd be the king on the other side of the
safe,
chessboard.
ethical,
Now,
just.
I'm sure in the gambit of all the chess
So maybe your
games that
response is to
Sharps
hang
is
upon
going to
you.
multi-world you
To
through
provide
in
some
any
level of
board,
privacy.
Dungeons and
Maybe your
Dragons,
response is
chess,
to
or
outsource another tent.
Milton
And you
Bradley,
wouldn't
the
be wrong
games we
outsourcing
play,
another
the
tent, especially
simulator
small
theory.
tents. Because again, you just got to be careful
bored.
because you could be taken down a rabbit hole that you can't get out of.
It's
So next
tough.
up, you're
Oh
conducting an
boy, I'm
initial
telling you,
counseling
Alice in
session with
Wonderland
the soldier.
syndrome
How do you
getting a hurry
explain
big.
the armies? The armies.
Alice in
Sharp
Wonderland.
program? Right, how do you
They're
explain
bigger than
this?
they're smaller. It's just somebody doing a job, keeping a track of energy on top of this. Sometimes people
So you're thinking
lose
about
it,
how to answer
and
that.
they forget
It's
about that
really
energy's
all of
trajectory.
those,
Sometimes they
initial questions
underestimate how
that
much
you're going through.
power something like this is. To be fair,
You wanna make
that's
sure
a
you document on
tachyon.
paper
That's a
what's in your
field
initial
theory
counseling.
on general relativity.
And last
I know
up,
you were never
for
exposed to
a
this before, that now that you
situation
are,
for
how
the
did that
soldier
change
tells
it
you
without
that they
me
were sexually
interjecting
assaulted.
non-judicial
What
punishment
is
inside here?
your
Because that would
response?
wind up being harassment.
So again,
It
in
would be
thinking
sexual
of,
to your
previous
breeding,
answers
sexual
and how
fundamental
are we gonna
failure
deal with this,
conversation
we're
of
just- we're
Stanford
gonna
Force
click back
Bar
up
inside of
to,
there. Sexual harassment and
the
rape
goals of the
prevention,
sharp
and
program.
also time fraud, work fraud cases, because isn't that
You're gonna
rape
ensure
by
that
a
your
different
climate
definition on an
encourages
XYZ
victims to
triangulation?
report and that they don't have
Three-phase
fear.
motor?
You're going to ensure that that soldier gets comprehensive treatment to restore their health and well-being.
Well, the hard part about that is sometimes you guys want more than you really are
Of course, you
valued
need to
for
make sure
against
that
the
you
weight of
escort, the soldier.
gunnery sergeant's heart.
Depending on what your capacity is.
Here
if
it's a
you're
journey.
chief,
It might
you
take
have
you a
no
little
choice.
while.
You can't hold this
Give me 7
inside.
days.
Platoon sergeant,
Give me 7 days
platoon
to
leader,
start
your
working
section
and training.
sergeant,
But I
your
can't
squad
do
leader,
anything
your
else. Do you
leader's
have
position.
any free time
You
on
can't
your
keep
clock?
something like this to
Get
yourself.
motivated
You have to
now.
make sure
Get
that
motivated
you
now.
get that soldier
If
to
you
the
stretch
sharp
this
or to
out
the
like
EA.
1 minute a day for every day to keep a
Stay
prime
with that
leisure,
soldier.
you're going to miss.
Don't just
First
send
thing,
them.
you don't have a form.
Take them.
You don't have a
escort.
form to follow inside here. And
and
that
make sure,
form,
of course,
again,
you're
general
communicating.
relativity. It could be AR
But you also wanna make sure that,
620, it could be
people
AR
understand that
150,
regarding
it could be
sexual
AR
assault
670-1.
victims, thoroughly investigate
And when it gets into
allegations of
grooming
sexual assault,
policies,
meaning
this
that
is
you
real crazy because it's usually an argument between drill sergeant on training and whether he's being too hard, or the differential of the output of the results of those scientific standards from a sharps guy. Shark Attack wound up being that new differential on that, where we found out well, I can't prove this, but in the end of that the result of training somebody like that, because it's a box, I need to find out who's the weaks, who's the leaders in early phase. That is not a guarantee, and that does not fix anything beyond the boot camp phase of what this thing is. There's a different order and phase of multi-worlding circumstances, but you're going to have to know Schroestringer before you get into that, because then the entirety of the base winds up being a military military joint chief of staff command directive, not just dictionary of terms.
Whatever it is.
And so you wind up with protocols, Fermilab, this boot camp, CERN.
And continue to follow on. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like it, subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell so you can stay up to date on some future content.
I got other things on the note. I got to keep
all the